Hello, everyone. I am back with System Synthesis, Chapter 31, titled Start of a Race. The bell rung, signaling the end of the school. Since it was the last day before the sports festival, all classes that required physical work were canceled. The students had not been happy learning they will be doing double of each academic subject. Listen, as much as Ichigo adored his aunt, studying about modern art history for 2 consecutive classes was not fun, especially when Ichigo had absolutely no clue about what was being taught. Some of them felt completely alien, like it's just red and yellow lines on a canvas. What's there to analyze? Ichigo had been talking with Yairozu and Ida about their duties tomorrow as class representatives. He heard the door being opened and sensed something off, but before he could draw his attention away from what Yairozu was saying, he heard Uraka scream, "What's going on?" Apparently the something off that he sensed was the horde of students standing in front of their classroom. A quick glance through the crowd, and Ichigo realized they were all first years from every section. Oh wow. Even in UA, huh? Ichigo heard Shinso mutter. But before he could ask her what, his best friend was already walking towards the crowd like they weren't even there. And knowing the blonde for as long as he did, they probably weren't in his eyes. What are they here for? He heard Cyril ask no one in particular. To scope out the competition, duh, Tape. Katsuki muttered like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Ichigo wasn't sure what to be more surprised by. The fact that other class considered them a threat when they were the same year as them, or the fact that Katsuki gave someone a nickname. His best friend didn't just give nicknames to others. Small fry, extra, something along those lines, sure. But a nickname? A non-offensive one at that. If Ichigo wasn't as startled by the crowd as he was, he would have probably shed a few tears. What? Mina asked in disbelief. What for? Because we're the kids that survived the villain attack, Shinto said with a grim face. Makes sense they would want to have a look before the sports festival. Ichigo noticed Katsuki standing at the door, looking at them over his shoulders. He didn't wear his usual scowl on his face. Instead, his expression was, he looked bitter, like he had last year, sitting on the stairs that led to the rooftop. Ichigo didn't need to use telepathy to know what he was thinking. Surviving a villain attack wasn't cool anymore. It wasn't a story to regale others with. The novelty of surviving had washed over ever since the Sludsvillain incident. Bakubro, maybe you shouldn't be standing. Kaminari started, but was cut off as Katsuki barked, "No point in scoping, though. Move aside, cannon fodder." Ichigo let out a sigh. Well, he can't expect Katsuki to be civil with everyone. Can we please not resort to calling those we don't even know as cannon fodder? Ida scolded. Ichigo had the urge to smile sympathetically at his classmate, maybe friend, and pat his shoulder. "It's true that we came here to scope you out," one of the students in the crowd said. Ichigo eyed their uniform, and by the pattern on their collar, he could tell the person was from Gen Ed. He hummed under his breath. It made sense why Gen Ed would have the most animosity against them. They are all the students who failed to pass the entrance exam for the hero course. Ichigo could bet it was because of the robots. "You guys are all modest," another said with a mocking scoff. "All the students in the hero course like this one?" "Gotta say," a girl said, eyeing them with something akin to hatred. "Not as strong as hate, but nothing quite disinterested either. We're all a little delusional if this is what you all have to offer. Those of us who didn't make it to the hero course are stuck in Gen Ed or other tracks. There's quite a few of us, did you know that?" Another added. "Depending on the results, they might consider transferring us to the hero course. I understand the reverse is possible too. This isn't just a festival for us. We're here to declare war." "Hey!" shouted another voice. Ichigo took a step to the side and leaned forward to see who was speaking. It was a guy with silver hair and glasses that looked like metal. I'm from Class 1B next door. Heard you guys got attacked by a villain. Wanted to find out more, but all I see is this arrogant bastard. Even if Asuku knew the way Katsuki carried himself and spoke would sound rude and prideful to others, he still wanted to give the guy a piece of his mind, with perhaps a punch to his face. Katsuki had every right to be proud of himself. His quirk isn't just strong, it's also highly volatile. If he wasn't careful, he would hurt himself. And Katsuki had worked by himself to gain full control of it. He had pride, sure, but he had earned every bit of it. Are you sure they fought the villains? One of them asked, too far behind in the crowd for Isuku to notice the pattern of their collar and know what class they belonged to. I mean, look at them. You guys got a ton of attention because of the attack, someone said, and then looked at their friend. Think if we fought a dime's worth villain, we'll get the attention as well? They snickered. Isuku looked at the others in his class to make sure he wasn't hallucinating. And this was actually happening. How did you guys even survive? Another mocked. I mean, we saw the condition your teacher was in. Doesn't look like he could do much to protect you guys. If the teacher is pathetic like that, it's only a wonder how bad the students would be. You bastard, don't talk shit about our sensei. Shinso growled and moved, probably to hurt the guy who had said it, but Isuku stopped him with his hand. The purple-haired kid looked down at the hand, confused. What? He was about to ask his friend why he would stop him after hearing what the guy had just said, but the words died on his tongue as he looked at his friend's face. At that moment, everyone in the class froze, all eyeing the green-haired kid with wariness. With a terrifying expression on his face, Isuku's eyes were fixated on the crowd in front of him, with the fierceness of a predator eyeing their prey. Tsuyu and Aoyama gulped. Although the gravity in the air was nothing like what they felt that day during the USJ, but the pressure was still suffocating. Some let their eyes wander to the boy's best friend, wondering if the blonde was going to do something. They were expecting a scowl or anything to be the like, but to their surprise, his expression was completely neutral. Face slack and red eyes glued to the crowd. Then he sighed, like he had seen something so stupid it was a waste of energy to even get angry at it. So far they had been calling them weak, arrogant, and all kinds of things that Asuku hadn't been fully paying attention to, and honestly, it was all fine. They didn't know how it feels like to be in an actual villain attack, and it was a good thing. Fighting villains isn't fun. It was traumatizing, and Asuku was glad they had no idea what it felt like. He hoped they didn't have to know what it feels like standing in front of a group of people who would have hesitation in holding children as hostages. He hoped they didn't know what it felt like to face someone so fearsome that it paralyzed them. He hoped they never knew what it feels like to have a hot, disgusting sludge being shoved down their throat, choking them, drowning them. Ichigo knew it was illogical to hope so, because some of them were training to become heroes, but he hoped they didn't have to face horrors like that until they graduated. So all the taunts and teases were fine. But to talk shit about Eraserhead? To talk shit about the man who was more than willing to lay down his life for his students that day at the USJ? Who would do it over and over again as many times as it was required of him to keep his students safe? Even if Aisawa Shota hadn't been his dad, even if he hadn't known the man for years, to talk shit about him? Now that was just crossing the line. You all have a lot of nerve to talk about things you don't understand. Isuku started, slowly walking towards the crowd. He was mad. He was furious. But they didn't know, and it wasn't right to just lash at them. So he had to control himself. You weren't present that day. You all don't have the slightest clue of what we had to face. So don't go off running your mouths about things you don't understand. You have a bone to pick with us, not our teacher. So keep your pathetic insults limited to us, he said, tone dangerous as he eyed every one of them. The sports festival is in a week, and since you think we're so weak, it shouldn't be that hard for you to take our place, should it? I hope this little bravado you all are showing right now remains on that day. There was a heavy silence after that. Ichigo could tell some people still had some things to say, but were all too hesitant to speak. He didn't realize the sheer pressure his presence was forcing on them. He didn't notice the way some of them stepped back, the way some flinched when his burning green eyes fell on them. What's going on here? A voice spoke. All the students whipped their heads around to find Snipe and Aisawa walking towards them. By the way, you're all still here. It seems like you all don't want to go home, Shota said. If you're so eager to stay then maybe you'll enjoy some detention, huh? Ichigo broke out of his stupor, eyes falling on his dad. He noticed the wounds from earlier were all gone. Seemed like he had visited Recovery Girl when he managed to find time. Good. Or he was going to snitch on him to his mom the moment he got home. The crowd in front of them slowly filtered away, leaving behind just Class 1A students. Shota regarded them with tired eyes. Well, he raised an eyebrow, eyes cold and stern. You all need a special invitation or something? Someone squeaked before all of them were rushing out of the class. Isuku and Katsuki waited until the rest had left. Well, Isuku waited, and so, consequently, his best friend ended up waiting as well. He didn't want to go, but it was hard to leave when Isuku had a vice grip on his sleeve. Are you going to be late today? Isuku asked curiously. His dad slightly tilted his head to side to side and shrugged. I have a meeting, so yeah, most likely. Oh, okay, in that case, can I have the gym key? Ichigo asked. He watched as his dad reached into one of the pockets on his utility and fished out a singular key. You remember the rules, right? Yeah, no heavy weights or parkour without you around, I know. Ichigo recited in a sing-song voice. He's cheeky. He heard Snipe mother as Shota tossed the key over to Ichigo. Shota pointed his finger at Ichigo warningly, who mimed to cross his heart. The older man huffed and rolled his eyes before shooing his kid and his friend away. Come on, Kachan, let's go. Ichigo chirped, skipping his way to the stairs while pulling on his friend. Damn it, nerd, let go. Nope. You know the feeling when sometimes you close your eyes and open them again thinking it has only been 5 minutes, but then you check the time and realize it's already been an hour? Yeah. The sports festival was something like that. On a fair day, Ichigo had been talking to All Might about not wanting to be the next him, and then boom, sports festival. Okay, so maybe it wasn't exactly like that, but it did feel like it. On the day before the sports festival, Ichigo had gone to the principal's office to meet Nezu. They didn't have any elective classes that day, and Ichigo was dying to share his theory with Nezu. He wanted to know if his assumptions were correct, if he had predicted it right. Not that it would matter. He doubted the Chimera would even slip him a bit of information, for that was usually more than generous, giving him crumbs of information he wasn't supposed to know. When it came to information related to his studies, the Chimera was as difficult to read as his dad. As usual, the door to the office slipped open even before Ichigu's knuckles could come in contact with the reinforced metal. Inside, he was surprised to find his dad sitting on the black couch of Nezu's office, one leg resting over the other, while he read through a stack of stapled papers. Dark eyes looked up lazily to him, slightly frowning when he saw him standing at the door, before he turned his head towards the chair facing the window. Ichigo wasn't sure what his dad saw or got, but a second later he looked back at him. Come on in. Isuku couldn't help but notice that despite his dad insistent complaining about Nezu's personality all the time, the man had been spending more than usual time around the principal. He wondered if there was something coming up. The black chair spun around to show Nezu sitting there, proper posture, legs crossed, holding a white and gold rimmed saucer while he sipped tea from the cup of the same set. Ah, Isuku-kun, good afternoon. What brings you here? You asked me to tell you if I come up with a new analyst or anything that wasn't a part of our session, said Isuku. Nezu's whiskers twitched with interest. I did, yes. And what have you analyzed? Isuku pulled his bag forward and fished out a file he made recently. Nezu had taught him that supporting one's analysis is an important requirement. For the recent analysis Isuku had made on heroes, Nezu made him print out and present the proof in any way possible. Here's everything I found about the sports festival, Isuku said, placing the file on Nezu's table. And what is your claim? Nezu asked. The challenges included during the first year's sports festival have a pattern to it, so I've made a list of possible challenges that might be present tomorrow, Isuku explained. Black beady eyes looked up at him. Then for a split second they shifted to his dad sitting behind him, before looking at him once again. Isuku waited anxiously when Nezu read his report. He glanced back and saw a plate of cookies on the coffee table, right beside a mug of steaming coffee. His dad wordlessly reached forward, picking up 2 cookies and held it out for him. Here. Oh, thanks, Isuku murmured, taking it from his dad. Those were his favorites, and he wasn't about to be polite and shit and say no. Did you eat during lunch break? His dad asked with the same tone of voice he used while they were at home. As the Racerhead, Class 1A's teacher, he maintained a mostly disinterested, sometimes slightly irritated voice. But at home, it was far from it. His voice, despite being naturally deep and authoritative, was soft, like a campfire. Ichigo glanced back at Nezu, wondering if he was allowed to break the teacher-student dynamic right now. Not that the two of them were ever good at maintaining it. It was an enigma for Hisashi and Nomori how their class hadn't already figured it out by now. It's fine, my work hours are over, his dad said, shifting in his position to stretch his back. I'm done being a teacher for the day. Isuku blinked. Am I hearing it wrong? Or did Dad just agree that he was willingly spending time in Nezu's office after office hours? Excuse me, sir. Who are you, and what have you done to my dad, who very loudly declares after every meeting with Nezu that he would rather die than spend more time than was required with the rat? Did you eat? Ichigo asked in return. Shota was the one with borderline horrible eating habits. Ichigo could swear the guy would only eat jelly pouches and drink coffee if it wasn't for his mom. His dad stilled, eyes flickering away from him as he muttered, I asked first. Well, I asked second, Ichigo childishly retorted, even though he knew very well his comeback made no sense. That, Shota mumbled, cracking his knuckles. I ate. Ichigo stared at him for a second before fishing out his phone. I'll ask Sashi for confirmation. His dad let out a quiet, offended noise. Ichigo caught his quiet mumble. What is he, my nanny? Since it was after work hours, he got an almost immediate response. Pocketing his phone, he looked up, a satisfied expression on his face as he nodded. His dad looked very unimpressed. He said yes. Good. Shota rolled his eyes. By then, Nezu seemed to be done reading his file and spoke up. Well, you do have an interesting theory here, Isuku-kun, and very compelling research to back it up. Thank you, Isuku replied, taking the file back after Nezu pushed it towards him. So, am I right? Nezu only smiled, and Isuku was starting to realize why his dad always complained about him. You'll find out tomorrow, won't you? Ichigo pursed his lips together and nodded. Behind him, he heard his dad snort. Ichigo wasn't it. No, of course not. Nezu is far older than him. He would never disrespect him like that. But he, also wouldn't likely feel bad if the man hit his toe somewhere. Right, Isuku put his file in his bag and nodded. Well, that was all I had to share. Thank you for your time, Nezu-sensei. Why, you're most welcome, Nezu chirped, and once again his dad snorted behind him. Isuku felt his eye twitched and hoped it wasn't noticeable. I'll be taking my leave then. Enjoy the rest of your day, Isuku-kun. Nezu smiled. Isuku wished he was there to see when the principal would stub his toe. The Chimera waited as the boy walked out and the door closed on him. While he wasn't made fully aware of the boy's quirk, he had observed enough to know he had enhanced senses. And the principal's office for safety purposes wasn't kept soundproof all the time. He waited and watched on the screen as the boy walked away before directing his attention to the boy's father in the room. Well, Shota-kun, how do you feel? He asked. He may be the most intelligent being in the country, if not the world, but when it came to understanding human emotion, he wasn't the best. Far from it, in fact. And it was a fact that never bothered him. Nezu couldn't be brought to care about it. He wasn't a human. He didn't need to understand human emotions in order to work as a principal and a hero. Data and information provided him with all he needed for his job, with perfection and exaggeration. However, when it came to humans he considered his, he made attempts to understand their emotions and give them importance. While he may not be the best at it, he knew that humans felt proud of their offspring when they were like him. He didn't understand their emotions, but he had observed the way Shota would smile a little differently, or have a different rare expression on his face. He deduced his one student felt emotions related to happiness and pride. He may not understand it, but he realized he liked the look on his one student's face. How do I feel about what? He asked. Pretending to be oblivious, I see. Nezu twitched his ears. Very well. How do you feel knowing your son is like a mini version of you? Nezu asked. Leaving no room for the elusive hero to run, he immediately picked up on the way the hero's posture shifted slightly, the way his hands and lips twitched a minuscule amount. Small actions that would go unnoticed by other humans. But then, again, he wasn't one. I don't know what you're talking about, the hero said, although his intonation was different from the way the hero was refusing to meet his eyes, the way he was subtly trying to turn away from him. He decided his human was feeling shy. Another emotion Nezu didn't understand, but was aware humans felt. Shota-kun, in my career both as a principal and teacher till this date, I've only come across 2 people who've managed to figure out the pattern, Nezu said, and I remember very distinctly about a 14-year-old boy who was rejected from the course he wanted. The world told him that it would be impossible for him to do it, so he went ahead and did the impossible. You remember such an instance, Shota-kun? The hero pursed his lips. His dark eyes were warm and soft, warmer and softer than Nezu had ever seen. And he had known him longer than anyone else. I did it because I didn't have a choice, he said. He did it because he didn't know how to pass his time. It's not the same. Nuisances, Nezu said with a blasé wave of his paw. Ugh, the hero groaned. His cheeks tinted a light pink color. Perhaps he was embarrassed? The good kind, Nezu thought. What do you want? Nothing, Nezu chirped. Just stating an observation. The hero glared at him before huffing and looking back at the papers Nezu had handed him 30 minutes ago to read. I don't have my older medical reports, the hero said in lieu of changing the topic of conversation. Nezu was okay with it. He had satisfied his itch to mess with his human. Is there a way for you to get them? Is there a way for you to get it? Or I could, see if I could get it from him? Nezu felt an urge of something akin to irritacy and anger in his veins at the mention of him, his student's adopted guardian. Nezu had promised him all those years back then that he'll never have to see that man's face again. He wasn't about to break it now. Of course I can, Nezu said, fingers already typing in the required keyword to find the reports required. Thank you, Shota said in a small voice. Mention not. And with that, the conversation ended there into a comfortable silence. Isuku loved his dad. He truly did. But what people didn't know was that the man liked, more than he would ever admit, to mess around with people for shits and giggles. And Isuku wasn't safe just because he was his son. So it wasn't until 9 p.m. the night before the sports festival that he was made aware of the fact that as the student who topped the entrance exam, he was supposed to give a speech. Isuku didn't know if he wanted to scream or bang his head against a wall. Probably a mix of both. I think it's more logical to start working on the speech instead of freaking out, his dad said lazily, as he lay on the couch with coffee on his stomach and Milky Way on his chest, getting scratched by him. Although it can't be said for sure if Isuku had more time, he would have been any less nervous than he was at the moment amongst his classmates in the waiting room, so perhaps the late knowledge didn't make any difference. To keep his nerves at bay as much as he could, he was working double time to make sure all his protein bars and water bottles were present in sufficient amounts, with an extra box present just in case. He kept an ear for any kind of discomfort his friends were facing. Someone needed a hand plant? Sure, here you go. Some water? Here's a bottle to you. Want to stretch? Sure, I can help. Am I freaking out? No, I'm fine, Uraka-kun. Vit, is everyone ready? The event is about to begin, Ida announced. Ichigo had to bite his tongue to keep himself from flinching. A half-filled bottle was sent flying towards the blue-haired boy who barely dodged it. Will you shut the fuck up, Four Eyes? Katsuki snapped. We don't need a reminder every goddamned 5 minutes. Ida opened his mouth, probably to retaliate or scold the blonde for cursing and throwing a bottle, but Kirishima cut in. Yeah, Ida bro, you're kind of psyching us out, man, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. I mean, I hope you don't take it the wrong way, but, I apologize in that case. It wasn't my intention. Ida bowed a full 90 degrees. Kirishima grinned. It's all cool, man. Some time went by before Todoroki spoke up, gaining the attention of everyone in the room. Midoriya. Huh? Ichigo turned his head around. Objectively speaking, I know I'm stronger than you by a margin. Only because my quirk doesn't have as many variations as yours. But that aside, not only did you come first during the entrance exam, you also fought the leader of the villains at the USJ, and you've gained All Might's attention. Ichigo blinked, unsure where the twin-quirked boy was going with this. I won't pry into the hows or whys, but know this, I'm going to beat you. Ichigo was unsure of what to say. What could he possibly say in response to that? But luckily, or maybe not, before he had to say anything, Katsuki butt in. Oi, you half-and-half bastard, he growled. This nerd's, he pointed his thumb over his shoulder towards Ichigo, is mine. I'm going to beat him first. Wow, I'm so wanted. Ichigo deadpanned in his best imitation of his dad's voice. I've been his rival since we were 5, so you don't get to butt in out of nowhere. And if you really want to, I'm gonna beat him and you both. You hear me? Gee, thanks, Kachan. Really feeling the love here, Ichigo muttered dryly. Then he shook his head and addressed them both. Well, I'm honored you guys think of me as your rival. I'm not the only competitor you have in class, Kachan, Todoroki-kun. They will all be giving their best. Damn right we will, Zero cheered. I'll show you all how manly I am, Kirishima grinned. I'll leave you all shocked. Kamano snickered. Itsuku suddenly recalled something very important. Todoroki-kun, the boy with heterochromia, looked at him apathetically. Itsuku smiled at him warmly. Good luck. To say Itsuku had underestimated the sheer crowd that would be present was an understatement. The shouts and the cheers as they stood in the middle of the stadium was deafening. Itsuku regretted not having brought an earplug. Speaking of earplug, he turned around to look where Jiro was in the girls' line and waved his hand to catch her attention. You're wearing earplugs, right? Itsuku mimed. Jiro narrowed her eyes, taking a second to decipher Itsuku's hand movement before her face lit up with realization and she nodded with the thumbs up. Itsuku threw a thumbs up back and turned back around. It's the UA Sports Festival, the one time of the year when our fledgling heroes compete in a ruthless grand battle. Hisashi's voice boomed through the speakers placed all around the stadium. Itsuku turned his head to spot the man and saw him high up in the commentator's box. That wasn't surprising. What was surprising to see his dad sitting right next to him. Itsuku couldn't help but snort, seeing the absolutely done with life expression on his face. First up, we have the ones everyone's been waiting for. The miraculous rising stars, the first years of the course. The shout that followed was so deafening, Itsuku could barely hear Hisashi announce the rest of the classes. The hype for Class 1A seemed to be driving the other classes mad, but Itsuku couldn't be bothered to care. He considered himself nice, but that doesn't mean he wasn't a little shit. Nomori cracked her whip in the air, gaining everyone's attention. Alright, young ones, all your attention should be on me. She paused, a sultry smirk on her face as she eyed everyone in the crowd. Itsuku looked around, and just like he was expecting, the R-rated hero Midnight was having her effect on several girls and boys alike. Holy guacamole, Itsuku heard Yurichi whisper as he popped out mid-air next to him. I swear, we didn't get a crowd this big 30 years ago, Nana murmured. Damn, this crowd is getting me all pumped up, Banjo grinned, hopping on his toes. Chill down, you're shit for brains, you're dead, no one cares about you. Yurichi snarked. Shut up, Banjo snapped. Huh, well things sure have changed a lot, Saburo hummed thoughtfully as he looked around the crowd. And, Shimori, Itsuku called when he realized the other two vestiges weren't present. Are you guys alright? Oh, don't worry about them, Yurichi said, waving his hand dismissively in the air. Those two don't like crowds much, but we're here to support you. And soft voice spoke in his head. Thanks, guys. Now for the speech by the student representative, this year's entrance exam top scorer, with a record-breaking score. We have Isuku Midoriya from Class 1A. She pointed her whip at him and smirked. Come up on the stage, little duckling. Itsuku took in a deep breath, trying to shake off his nerves as he walked up on the stage. You got this, buddy! Yurichi cheered excitedly, patting his back. Even if you mess up, trust me, no one remembers the speech anyway, Nana assured him. I got this. I got this. I got this. I got this. Itsuku chanted, walking to the stage. I don't got this, he realized once he was up. For a second after he got on stage and looked at the crowd in front of him, he blue screened. His mind went completely blank with panic. Forgot about his speech. He couldn't even remember what language he spoke. Fear resistance is in effect. Itsuku took in a deep breath as he felt himself calm down and stepped in front of the mic. There's a line from a pre-Quirk era movie. It says, great moments are born from great opportunities. And this event, UA Sports Festival, is that opportunity for me. I'm not here to just win this competition. I'm here to show all the heroes here what I can do. And I know I'm speaking for all my friends when I say we are not just here to win, but also to make our mark, to let everyone know who we are. He eyed the students at had presented in the front of their class to show them that we earned this moment and to let everyone know we are what the next generation of heroes is going to look like. We are what's coming. We are the future. Good luck, everyone, and plus ultra. The roar that followed shook him to his core. His eyes widened as he looked at his classmates. Their voices completely drowned out the taunts and jeers of the other classes. You tell him, Midoriya! So manly. Keep watching, everyone. You heard him. Plus Ultra! Isuku got off the stage, only to be immediately hounded by his friends. His cheeks were so red and hot, Isuku could practically feel the heat radiating off of them. He bit his lip, surprised to see even Todoroki present in the crowd, albeit on the outskirts, but Isuku could see the fire in his eyes. A fist pressed against his chest, and he looked at his best friend. The blonde was scowling, but then it changed into a proud smirk. That was damn cool, nerd. Ooh, Namori shuddered. That speech was real something. Huh, had my toes all curling. All the pros in the crowd, you heard him, right? That little green bean is challenging us. Let's see what our future looks like. She cracked her flogger down, drawing everyone's attention. Now, without any further delay, everything in UA is without any further delay. Uraraka mumbled, making Mina and Kaminari snort. Let's get the first event started! Huh, Ichigo huffed as Namori finished explaining the first event. A race course. I got the first event right. Ichigo decided to do a quick check on his statistics and skill set to decide which one he was going to use for the competition. Name, Midoriya Izuku. Username, NA. Language, English, Japanese. Level, 28. Rank, C. Status, Title, Born to be Hero, Legendary. He who cheated death, Mythical. Ninth user of One for All. S. HP 2100 out of 2100. EP 3600 out of 3600. Statistics. Strength 138. Dexterity 148. Agility 159. Speed 168. Charisma 98. Intelligence 178. Passive skills. Selective focus. Level 6. Oral sense. Level 6. Situational awareness. Level 6. Analytic mind. Level 8. Concentration. Level 9. Strategizing. Level 6. Pattern recognition. Level 5. Heat resistance. Level 4. Cold resistance. Level 7. Fear resistance. Level 8. Active skills. Sprint. Level 10. Max. Disassemble. Level 12. Night vision. Level 6. Stealth. Level 6. Pull. Level 7. Push. Level 1. Fire breathing. Level 3. Sub skills. Insight. Level 4. Hindsight. Level 3. Regeneration. Level 5. Assemble. Level 4. Dominance. Level 7. Kai. Level 5. Tell empathy. Level 6. One for all. Level 2. Sub skills. Wait, when did I get push? Isuku mumbled. Well, I haven't exactly checked my skills after the penalty. Decide quickly, little one, Saburo said. The race is about to begin. Isuku glanced at the timer and realized there was a little over a minute left before the race. Why not stick to fire breathing for your above ground persona? Yurichi suggested. We all discussed it amongst ourselves, and fire breathing is the best choice for you. Itsuku frowned, considering it. You can use fire breathing to cover up the super strength you receive from One for All. It will be a good cover, Itsuku realized. Villains, the League, they won't be able to connect my quirk to All Might easily. Yurichi grinned. Exactly. Beep, beep, beep. Itsuku looked up at the countdown, reached down to the last 10 seconds. The round was meant to filter through most of the competition. Staying at the back of the crowd would be highly disadvantageous. Moreover, the starting gate was so narrow it was obviously the first filter. Stealth is in effect. Isugu slipped through the crowd with ease, unnoticed by everyone around him, even though he had pushed through between them. He walked his way to the front of the crowd, stopping right behind the first 3 to 4 rows of the students. Standing at the very front wasn't the best idea either. While Isugu may have predicted the challenge, he still had no idea what were the obstacles in the obstacle course. So he decided to let the ones at the very front be his scapegoat. Not very heroic of him, perhaps, but like his dad said, use whatever resources you have to get information and to learn from others' mistakes. The last beep sounded and the buzzer went off. Immediately, Todoroki and Katsuki pretty much blasted off the starting line. Oral sense and situational awareness flared as cold resistance activated. Isugu noticed the ice forming on the ground way before it reached anywhere near him. With oil sense, situational awareness, it was almost too easy to time his jump so he wouldn't get frozen on the ground like the other competitors. Isugu decided to stay 2 steps behind his best friend, since the heat of his explosions was helping melt the ice off the ground. It was a weird feeling to intentionally run slower, even with such basic breathing techniques. Isugu knew he would be faster than both Todoroki and Katsuki, but he had to force himself to be slower instead. Someone screamed, and Isugu saw a student pretty much get blasted away by a swing of one of those one-pointer robots used during the entrance exam. Isugu winced. That must have hurt. But honestly, how did they not notice the 6-foot robot? It's so noisy. For a second, Isugu considered if he should use his symbol to make his job easier. He knew with the help of his skin, he could destroy the robots without losing even a bit of his current speed. But then quickly decided it would be a waste of time and an unnecessary show of the cards up his sleeve. Every obstacle course needs obstacles, he heard Hisashi say, sounding a little too delighted than one should be, given the monstrosity that had appeared was none other than the 0-pointer, starting with the first barrier, Robo Inferno. And to make it worse, there wasn't even just one of them, but rather dozens. Well, there goes my plan to keep this symbol hidden, Itsuki thought as he decided to finally take up Akatsuki. Todoroki was the one at the very lead. The 0-pointer was probably a surprise for him, given that he was admitted through the recommendation exam. It was quite obvious what the twin quirk teenager was going to do. In the time Itsuki had known him, Todoroki never used his other quirk. He probably had his reasons, but that was his space to pry into. What mattered was that Isuku could guess Todoroki would use those huge icicles he could make. It was more logical than using his fire anyway when the melting point of the metal used to make the robot was unknown. If Todoroki freezes them, they would become unstable. It's better to stay away from him. Itsuki thought and took off to the side of the race course. While the sheer size of the robot was what made it intimidating, it was also what made the robot weak. Unlike the 1, 2, and 3 pointers, the Goliath couldn't move fast enough. 1A's Todoroki, busting through and sabotaging the others in one move, Hisashi commented. This guy is cold. Itsuki snorted as he approached the 0-pointer. He didn't need to see to know the blonde must be snickering at his own puns. Climbing up to the top of the robot's shoulder with the subtle help of pull was almost too easy. From the position, he had several advantages. One, the robot can't turn its giant head to spot him, and it didn't seem to have any other senses to recognize he was on its shoulder. Secondly, from the high spot, he could easily see what lay in the course ahead of him. And also, because there were so many of these 0-pointers, he could jump from one to another without ever touching the ground. That way, he would stay away from the mess Todoroki was bound to make. Third, he wasn't sure, but he guessed his position under the Robo Inferno's head. He kept him hidden from the flying drones around the area and severely lacked mobility. He crouched like a cat ready to pounce, and disassemble is in effect. Green rings traveled down the robot's body, and just as he jumped, the robot fell apart under his feet. And that was the last advantage he had. Once every part of the robot fell, they would shower down on the ground. So not only did the other competitors have to worry about Todoroki throwing the robots off balance, fight the 1, 2, and 3 pointers, they also had to avoid the shower of robot parts on them. Not only that, the large pieces of the robots would also effectively block off the path. Oh, and what's this? Some of the robots are falling apart like Jenga blocks, moving through, sabotaging and blocking the path all at once. Who is causing this chaos? Hisashi commented. Ichigo could almost hear his dad and Dabi cackle like madmen in his mind. Up high in the commentator's box, Hisashi watched as his honorary nephew, the sweet sunshine child, created absolute havoc on the field, and it was just the beginning. Your son's a wee little devil, Hisashi murmured in English with a thick accent. Shota besides him, who had already been snickering seeing the chaos his son was created, only laughed harder. Hisashi sighed and focused back on the course. He froze, heartbeat shooting up suddenly when he saw one of the students get crushed underneath a robot. Besides him, Shota frowned and mumbled, Todoroki is very good at using his quirk, but the way he uses his quirk could lead to casualties on the field. He pushed his hair back with his hand, letting out a sigh. Sashi, pass me a notebook and a pen. Hisashi did so without tearing his gaze away from the course. He hadn't been able to see who exactly had been crushed by the robot. If it was a student without a proper calm down, it was Kirishima underneath. He'll be fine, Shota said, even though he was slightly anxious himself. Had it been anyone else apart from him, they could have died, or at least gotten severely injured. A second later, Hisashi saw the fallen robot move before Kirishima burst out of the robot. Seconds later, another student that Hisashi recognized was from Class 1B followed. Ouch! It seems like Class 1B's Tetsu had been flattened underneath as well, Hisashi commented with a cheery voice, even though he was feeling anything but. He stole a glance to his side to find his friend scribbling away on the notebook. He removed his finger from the button, turning the mic off, and asked, "What you doing? My class may know how to tackle an opponent decently, but there's still a lot to work on. They need to know how to minimize property destruction and make sure casualties are kept at minimum," Shota explained. "I'm just writing all the glaring problems." A loud explosion drew his attention back to the course, and Hisashi saw Katsuki using his explosions to fly over the fallen robots. Down low didn't work for Class 1A's Bakugo, so he took the high road. How clever of him, Hisashi commented. But alas, the falling pieces of the other robot end up creating another barrier for the students. Watch out, little listeners. Those things are heavy. Ichigo saw Todoroki glanced behind his shoulders and cheekily smiled at him while waving. Behind him, he heard an explosion not too far off. Getsuka-chan got through my robo-pieces shower. Considering everything, Ichigo couldn't help but think the first half of the course was a little too easy. The obstacle was practically built for his quirk. Even if Ichigo didn't have a quirk like disassemble, he would have still managed to get through with ease. He wondered if his friends were okay. He had gotten a glance at Uraka while he was running and noticed she wasn't fully using her quirk. He guessed she was saving her trump cards for later on, a smart move on her part. He was sure he had seen Sensor amongst the crowd, sitting on top the shoulders of a few other students he had control with his quirk. He hoped the purple had realized that it was far better to avoid the zero pointers. Those things may be big, but they're incredibly slow. For someone entirely focused on running, it shouldn't be a problem. problem. Or he could just control someone with an AoE quirk to get through the robots. Since Ichigo wasn't using any skills to drastically affect his speed, he wasn't surprised when his best friend caught up to him. The smell of burnt camels and banana attacked his nose, along with familiar pops of expression. A glance to his side, a quick eye contact, and it was decided. They won't fight each other, not right now. Right now, fighting each other would be a complete waste of time. Oh, they would fight for sure, but later on, and properly. Oh, so the first half of the race was a piece of cake, huh? Hisashi's voice boomed. How about the second? Ichigo already knew without seeing what it was. He had seen the gourds way before from on top of the seal pointer's shoulders. Fall and you're out. You gotta crawl your way across. This is the fall. Who named this? Ichigo thought with a slight grunt of his nose. He slowed down as he reached the edge, uncaring of the fact that Todoroki and Katsuki were moving away without stopping. He eyed the distance between the pieces of rock and decided with a little bit of one for all, he could jump his way across with. Taking a few steps to gain enough speed, he ran, and just as his feet fell on the edge, he activated One for All. One for All is in effect at 10%. Ichigo let out a quiet yelp as he launched into the air, higher than he had been expecting. He hadn't had the chance to use One for All in the time between the USJ incident and the sports festival. Too busy trying to get himself to stop flinching just because someone breathed a little too loud. He hadn't gotten used to the power of One for All at 10%. He barely managed to land himself on a rock right in the middle of the gorge. He rolled to stop his movement and yelped as he almost tipped over the edge. Once again, he took a few steps back, ran, and jumped. And since this time he knew what to expect, he could maintain his form as he was up in the air. The truth is, there's many types trying to make it big today, Hisashi said thoughtfully. Ain't it right, Eraserhead? Why had those idiots stopped moving? He heard his dad grumble. Ichigo looked behind him once he landed on the other side. He noticed Suyu crawling her way across the ropes with an incredible speed. Behind her to the right was a girl with pink hair and machines attached to her body. It took him a second to realize that she was probably from the support heroics track. Huh. Didn't know they were allowed to use support items. But I guess it makes sense. We get practical heroics classes. It's only fair if they get to use support items. Meanwhile, the leaders of the pack move on undaunted, Hisashi commented. Hey, Kachan! Ichigo chirped, once again catching up with his friends, before easily overtaking him. Bye, Kachan! Katsuki growled and barked. You damn nerd, I'm going to fucking blast you. Ichigo giggled and increased the distance between. The leads keep raking ahead with the rest. While the rest are bunched up, Hisashi continued. Our little racers don't know how many will get to move on, so all they can do is aim for the first spot, and their leader has reached the final position. And that is to say, the minefield on an off-again carpet. Danger sense and situational awareness flared in his mind, making him slow down as they approached the minefield. Katsuki and Todoroki blasted ahead of him, and Ichigo let them. His eyes were glued to the ground. He heard an unfamiliar explosion and took a quick glance to find Katsuki flying, with pink smoke rising from the ground. I should mention our mines don't pack a lot of punch, but they might blow you, off course by a few feet. Also, they're very loud and flashy, so you might need to change your underwear later on, depending on the person, that is, his dad quietly added. Ichigo snorted and almost lost his count in his mind. With his enhanced sense, it wasn't at all a difficulty to spot the part of the soil that looked like they had been dug up before being filled again. 64, 68, 72, 76, 80. Alright, 80 of them. He looked up as Todoroki stepped on a mine and was thrown off course. Ichigo huffed as he noticed another characteristic of the mine. Well, That helps. Easy enough. Ichigo lowered his stance, taking a running form as he activated his skills one by one. Sprint is in effect. Selective focus is in effect. Concentration is in effect. Heat resistance is in effect. One for all is in effect at 10%. Kai is in effect. And with that, Ichigo took off. He expertly avoided every single landmine buried in the ground, not even coming close to triggering one. Oh my, and what's this? The little green bean is sprinting through the field without triggering a single landmine. What is going on? Are the mines malfunctioning? Hisashi shrieked with excitement. Don't say that. Power Loader will strangle you, Shota murmured next to him. Ichigo avoided each and every mind until he was right next to Katsuki. He glanced at his friend and smiled sweetly before intentionally stepping right in front of him. And from then on, Ichigo started stepping on each and every mine intentionally. Ichigo had noticed it earlier, but the mines were rigged to explode a split moment after the weight shifted from over the top. It wasn't remotely enough for anyone to use, but for Asuku, it was just what he needed. With One for All and Sprint together, Asuku was comfortably fast enough to avoid the explosion after he stepped on them, moving away from the explosion radius even before the mines could explode. But Katsuki didn't have any such luck. It wasn't until Katsuki was coughing and heaving after inhaling all the smoke, struggling to get up on his feet after dealing with the brunt of the explosions, that Izuku let him go. He looked front and focused on his next target. Would you look at that? Hisashi yelled. Class 1A's Ichigo Midoriya is intentionally triggering the mines to obstruct the path of the other two. With his mind-blowing speed, he's able to easily avoid the explosions. But it doesn't seem like the other two are able to do so. And there, Todoroki Shoto's down too, folks. There's something wrong with your child, Hisashi said good-naturedly, after turning off the mic. His expression was a comical mix of both shock and amuse. I honest to God don't think anyone could ever think of what he just did. People usually avoid the mines. Your child is actively seeking them out, Shota. What the fuck? Shota huffed amusedly. He's being a cheeky brat. He didn't need to run through the field at all. Huh? Izuku could have easily used the gate on the other side as a point to pull himself towards. He wouldn't even need to touch the ground, but he decided to run through it anyway, because he wanted to bother the other two. He paused and jutted his chin towards the field. Pay attention. He's about to win. Hisashi huffed. Usually coming first here would be trouble, but I don't think it would even bother Izuku. Izuku slowed his speed as he entered the stadium. And there you have it, folks. The first student to return to the stadium, Hisashi announced loud and proud. Class 1A's Izuku Midoriya! Izuku watched and waited as the rest arrived. As soon as he spotted the light from explosions through the gate, his face lit up. Izuku, Katsuki growled. His speed didn't slow down even after he reached the end. His explosion continued, unfaltering. Hey, Kachan! Izuku chirped like the blonde wasn't totally aiming to sucker punch him with his explosive fist. Hindsight is in effect. With the years of knowledge he had on his friend, Izuku easily dodged the first punch and parried the next with his leg. He followed it by arching back, planting his hands firmly on the ground, and maneuvering his legs to wrap around Katsuki's neck and then hold him down. Izuku raised his upper body as Katsuki hit the ground and effectively pinned him underneath him. Now, Kachan, the race is already over, Izuku tutted, tapping the blonde's nose. Katsuki looked like he wanted to tear his jugular off. Izuku giggled once more, still feeling floaty from all the adrenaline rush he felt from the run. As much as it's fun to see two young boys play a little roughhousing, Nimori spoke, cracking her whip on the ground. Break it off. Fighting outside of the competition isn't allowed. Okay, Izuku chirped, getting off of Katsuki, but not after he slapped his palm on Katsuki's face with a loud splat in pretense of getting up. The blonde spluttered, spitting out a cursing storm. Now that everyone is here, Marie said once the remaining students had arrived, the top 42 students from the qualifying round will be moving on, and the one who became lower. Don't you worry, young buds. You'll have other ways to showcase your stuff. And now for the main selection to really begin, she exclaimed, a wide grin on her face, eyes sparkling with excitement. The press corps are going to be jumping out of their seats, so give it your best, everyone. Next we have... Itsuki watched the wheel on the screen spin until it slowed down and read, Cavalry Battle! Itsuki blinked at the screen. Well, I got this one wrong. Alrighty, that is the end of this chapter. I'm pretty sure I pronounced some of the words wrong, so I'm sorry about that. Anyways, let me know if I should put bloopers in the end of the next episode. Bye bye, guys.